All right, this is where we left off in the first video. We now have a portrait in a complementary color pair. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a grid of this, like the Andy Warhol ones that we looked at. So in Photoshop, you're going to open a new document. So go to File and New, and you need to let me move this for a second. You need to take a look at the image that you have. If it's wider than it is tall, like mine, you're going to want to go with the landscape orientation. And if it's taller than it is wide, you're going to go with portrait. So that is important to take note of. Mine is wider. So it's going to be 8.5 by 11. This is the portrait orientation. This is the landscape. So I said mine was wider than it is taller. So all it does is invert these numbers. So yours is either going to be 11 by 8.5 for landscape or 8.5 by 11 for portrait. And it solely depends upon the image you're starting with. If it's a square you're starting with, pick whichever one you like better between these two. It's going to change your portrait slightly, but hopefully not enough to be too noticeable. And then make sure your resolution, we're going to try to print these out big, so resolution of 300, and then click Create. So blank document. What we need to do is go back. Oops, I had a weird brush tool. We need to go back to your portrait. So all I did was click on this tab. You can toggle between the two, your untitled, blank document, and your portrait. Hopefully yours is named something. We need to change the size of the portrait so it'll fit in there 9 times. And if you do the math, you need to divide 8.5 by 3 and 11 by 3 to get it to fit in there 9 times. So I have these written on the board. If yours is, again, it depends upon your orientation. So we're going to go to image and image size. So we want to change this so it'll fit. Right now, make sure that, so this is the constraint ratio. You want to make sure that you don't have these lines. You don't want this locked. So click on it so that it looks like this and there aren't any lines around it. Now, if yours is landscape orientation, if it's wider than it is tall, you're going to put 3.66 in the width, and you're going to put 2.83 in the height. And it is very important that the resolution of your image is the same as your blank document. So just put it at 300. And then you're going to click OK. So again, if yours is portrait, you're going to invert these 2.83 by 3.66. If yours is landscape, wider like mine, 3.66 by 2.83. Hopefully that's not too confusing. It's also on the whiteboard. And then click OK. And then unlock your layer over here and make sure you have the move tool selected. And what you're going to do is click. You're going to hold the click and you're going to drag it and hover over Untitled 1. You're going to continue holding the click, and then you're not going to let go till you get inside of your new document. And then you're going to drag it so it snaps to the top left corner. Now, we could do that 8 more times, or there is a shortcut. If you hit Control J, that duplicates a layer. You can see I held it too long, so over here I have like 4 copies. So I'm going to move these down. Oops. My other copy. Yeah, I held down that a little too long, so I made a whole bunch of copies at once. So what you want to do is you can see if I click off of it, let me click off of it. You can see that there's a little bit of a white space in between there, and I do not want that. I get a little finicky with that. So I'm gonna go to, oops, I'm gonna go to this layer, and you can use your the cursor keys, the little arrow keys, will let you shift up and down. So I can like kind of nudge it when you need to. So again, Control J, make a copy. Oops, didn't work. Didn't quite work that time. Let me click the check mark. Okay, Control J. Duplicates a layer. And again. And if you're going to have a little bit of white space, you can see how mine didn't quite fit. I'll show you how to trim that in a second. So for now, make your duplicates, Control J, move them to tile your image into a grid. And again, if you need to nudge it up or down, those cursor keys are wonderful. Okay, I have 9 of them. Here's my crop tool. Remember, you got to be careful with the crop tool. I'm going to just take it up a teeny tiny bit at the bottom and on the right. Then I'm going to click the check mark or hit enter, and then all that little white space is gone. Get off of the, oh, that's new. Sorry, I just did an update and that I haven't seen this before. Okay, so now you guys get to play with the color combinations. So we already learned complementary colors. You all know that they are opposite from each other on the color wheel. Let me pull up my color wheel. So red and green, like I said, if you want to do a little bit more sophisticated, not so harsh on the eyes, you can do near complements. So if I did green, I could do maybe like a red violet or a red orange to make it less harsh and a little bit more pleasing. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is harmonious color schemes are typically made by picking colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And another art term for that is analogous colors. So I could pick blue, green, and blue, and that's going to make for, you're kind of drawn to make these anyhow. So any like 2 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel are going to make very pleasing color schemes. So you have a whole bunch, you have like 8 different ones to try some color combinations out on. There's a couple ways you can do it. We can go up to image and adjustments, and there's the hue saturation. So make sure you know what layer you're on. Right now I'm on here, and you can watch what it does. So on the layer that I have selected, I can take this slider and I can go through a whole bunch of color combinations. So find one you like, click OK, and then you need to make the next one the active layer. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You could like checkerboard it. You could like leave this one as is, but move on to this corner one. I'll show you. So again, image adjustments. Last time we did hue saturation. You can try gradient map. This will also do all kinds of stuff. All of these Well, obviously that's not doing a lot. You can click on any of these and see what it will do. Mine's not doing too. This one isn't working so fantastically. This usually, which is weird because it usually gives you some pretty interesting effects. If you don't have all of these, click on the gear and then you can add them. So I could do spectrums and click append and it'll add them to the bottom. I added them twice. So try this out. Try out gradient map. Try out, where was I? Find one that looks kind of okay. And then click OK. So I could move on to, let me try the middle one. Image adjustments. You could do the same way if you wanted to go to select and color range. If you wanted to try it that way, you could also select some colors, but I would stick with these ones for now. You should be able to find some interesting color combinations. So go through here, experiment with that, and then in the next video I will show you how to put the some filters, some Ben-Day dots, some other cool optional stuff, and the final overlay.